So in this class, what we'll be doing is we'll be practicing problems for applications of derivatives. So we have covered the basic theory in the last class. So we'll go ahead with solving problems here. Okay, I'll share the questions. So the first question that we'll look at, does anybody have any doubts with what we have discussed before? Anything in this AOD?
I don't have.
Okay. The equation of normal to the curve x plus y is equal to x power y, where it cuts the x-axis. The x-axis is what? So think about it. The question, I'll try to understand the question, what it means.
So basically, you can just start by putting y as 0.
Yeah, so first you have to find where you have to find the normal. So it is saying where it cuts the x-axis, right?
Yeah.
So that point will come when you put y is equal to 0 in the equation, and you'll get x is equal to 1, right? So the point is basically 1 comma 0.
Yeah.
At this point, you have to find the normal to the curve. So the key thing here is to be able to take the derivative properly.
There it is.
So here I want to discuss briefly how to differentiate fx power gx. If you don't know already, right now it is x power y, no? Whenever there is some function to the power some function.
We can also do this by expressing y in terms of x first and then differentiating, right?
You can't express y in terms of x. How will you do it? It will be annoying to do. How will you remove this linear condition here and exponential here? Always it will have y inside it.
Okay, yeah.
This is an example where you have to do something called implicit differentiation.
Yeah. Okay, get it.
You cannot express y directly in terms of x here. You
Yeah.
have to do it anyway, just like that. Basically, both sides you have to differentiate. So you can write this side is easy. This side is 1 plus dy by dx. You just have to be able to do this, right?
Right.
So how do you differentiate fx power gx? That is what you have to figure out. Does anybody have any idea what to do here? Fx power gx differentiation.
Use log or something.
Yes, use log is the correct approach. Take fx power gx to be equal to y, or y, let's say y only, and let's say log y. So gx log fx is equal to log y, right? Now you can differentiate. So this will become g dash x log fx plus gx by fx multiplied by f dash x, right?
Yeah.
Is equal to 1 by y dy by dx, right?
Right.
So dy by dx can be now isolated, and you can say dy by dx is equal to y times this thing, right? Now y times this thing is actually fx power gx multiplied by g dash x log fx plus fx power gx, but there is a divide by fx, so it is gx minus 1 multiplied by gx f dash x, right?
Correct.
So you don't have to remember this, but ideally in a question you don't want to keep doing this all the time. Like you don't want to keep having to do this process. This is correct answer. It's just that it is slightly long, and if the functions are complex, I mean, anyway, it will come to this only. But do you understand what are the steps involved here?
Mm.
Okay, so what we will say is we learn a trick to solve it in one line, like write the answer in one line. So what is that? Basically, think of the answer here, think of the final answer that came here, and what you should think of this is like this is made up of the derivative of fx power gx will be done in two steps. The first term would be assume gx is a constant. Suppose it was fx power k, right? How would you have done that? You would have done k f of x power k minus 1 into f dash x, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So now put back the k is gx, right? So that is gx f of x power g of x minus 1 into f dash x, right?
Yeah.
That is this term, see,
Second term.
right? And then assume it is a power gx, some constant a, fx is assumed constant. Then how would you have done it? You would have done a power gx log a into g dash x, right?
Right.
Yeah.
A power x differentiation is a power x log a, and you have to do this also because it is itself a function, right? Now put back your a as f of x, so it is this part, right? See, a was f of x, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So basically it's the sum of assume one is a constant, other is a variable, and then opposite, right? That is how the whole derivative comes.
Mm.
Everyone understands, no, what I said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if I have to differentiate, suppose x power y, right? Like do it by that method. Don't do logs. I mean, actually it's the same thing as logs, but in order to be able to write the answer quickly, you should get used to doing it by the method that I just said. So if I have to do that, suppose x power y, I have to differentiate. So first I will assume it is x power k. So it will be y, x power y minus 1 differentiation of x, which is 1, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Right? And then I will assume it is a power y. So it will be a power y only. So x power y only, log of y, right? And dy by dx, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Correct.
I'm making a mistake. It's log of x, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because a power x differentiation is
Yeah,
a
log
power
of
x
x,
log
right.
of a, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is this. So
Correct.
this is the derivative, and this side is 1 plus dy by dx, right? So you get y x power y minus 1 is equal to minus 1 actually. Minus 1 is equal to dy by dx 1 minus x power y log x.
Mm.
So you're getting dy by dx is equal to y power x power y minus 1 divided by 1 minus x power y log x, right? Correct? This is the slope as a function of x, but now what I need is slope as at the point 1 comma 0, right?
Yes.
So you can put 1 comma 0 here. 0 when you put here, this will become 0. This is minus 1. Minus 1 by 1 minus x is 1. 1 comma 0 is 1. And log 1 is 0, right? So this is minus 1, right? Slope.
Yeah.
Correct.
Slope of the tangent is minus 1. So slope of normal will be 1. Equation of normal will become y minus 0 is equal to 1 into x minus 1, right?
Yeah.
Equation of normal is y is equal to x minus 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, after derivative is done, it's obvious stuff, right? You have to find the slope of the tangent at that particular point where you have to find tangent and normal, right? You have to put
Yeah,
the
yeah.
values of that point there, because otherwise it's a function of x right now. This is telling you slope at all points. You have to find slope at a particular point to find the equation of the line, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember how to differentiate fx bar gx. That will come in handy in several questions. Okay. Next one is this. Let f of x is equal to mod of 2x minus 1 to the power alpha sine of 2 pi x when 0 is less than x is less than equal to 1, and 0 if x is equal to 0. And the question is saying if Rolle's theorem is applicable for x belongs to 0 to 1, then alpha can be what? A option is 0, B is 1, C is 2, D is 3. Okay. So Rolle's theorem is applicable means what?
Point where
But what is the condition for Rolle's theorem to be applicable?
Function should be continuous in 0 to 1 closed, and it should be differentiable in 0 to 1 open, and f of 0 should be equal to f of 1.
Hmm. These are the conditions that are coming with this statement, right? So actually this is a continuity and differentiability question, right? Because alpha you will be able to find if you are solving the continuity differentiability conditions, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to ensure that it is continuous here and differentiable here, and this has to happen, right? Correct. So firstly, easiest thing to confirm is this part. Whenever it is 1, it will be sine 2 pi, so it will be 0. Right? That condition is easily confirmed, right?
Yeah.
Now you have to check these conditions and make sure that that happens, and for that alpha has to be a particular value.
Yeah.
That is what you have to find out. How do you check continuity at 0, for example? How can you check continuity at 0? It's an endpoint of the interval, right?
Has to be
Yeah.
only check where it is defined.
So you can only do RHL, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
RHL should be equal to f of 0.
That is true.
That is true. If you quickly think about it, RHL will be 0 because of this part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 1, you can only check LHL, right?
Yeah.
LHL will also be 0.
Yeah.
It is f of 0. So it seems to be continuous on the endpoints, right?
Yeah.
What about any point in the interior? Can you think of any point where it is likely to be discontinuous? Any special point? Huh? What?
1/3.
1/3, why are you saying? Why is it likely to be discontinuous near 1/3?
Oh,
The obvious point to check here would be what? Wherever the function changes behavior, right? Changes its nature.
yeah.
So what is the obvious point to check?
0.
No, 0 and 1 we have already checked. What else is an obvious point from the definition of the function where it can
1/2.
change its x is equal to half? It is possible that the sign and all will change, no?
Yeah.
Correct.
Like this part also and this part also actually. When you are near half, it is near pi. Before pi, sign is positive. After pi, it is negative.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So x is equal to half. You have to ensure it is continuous and differentiable. So let's check LHL. So it is basically limit x tends to 1 minus mod of 2x minus 1 power alpha sine 2 pi x, and that can be written as limit h tends to 0 f of 1 minus h, right?
Yeah.
So 2 into 1 minus h, so 2 minus 2h minus 1 power alpha sine 2 pi 1 minus h, right? So this is becoming limit h tends to 0. This is becoming 1 minus 2h to the power alpha. And this is becoming sine of 2 pi minus 2h will be what? It is fourth quadrant, right? So minus sine 2h,
Yeah.
right? Correct, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this part is tending to 1 because this is 0, right? And
Right.
1
Yeah.
power alpha. But this part actually tends to 0, right? Actually tends to 0. There is no problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
you do 1 plus h, again I'll get 2 plus 2h minus 1. So 1 plus 2h, and it will be 2. Again, it will tend to 0 because of this part, right?
Yeah.
So it is seeming to be continuous right now at half, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But differentiability also you have to check, right? So for differentiability, how will you do? Differentiability, you will have to check the derivative, LHD and RHD.
Right.
So just before and just after, you have to check the derivative. Okay. So fine. Just before and just after derivative. So this limit RHD is basically h tends to 0 f of x plus h minus f of half plus h minus half by h, right? And LHD is basically limit h tends to 0 f of half minus f of half minus h by h, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
F of half is what? It is 0.
0.
Right? So this is just limit h tends to 0 f of half plus h, which becomes wait, I made a mistake in the previous case when I was checking limits. Was I doing half plus h or 1 plus h? I think I made a mistake, right? Yeah. When I was doing the previous limits, I was doing 1 plus h instead of half plus h. Nobody noticed that, huh? Now I'm realizing that half plus h will be different, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys have to notice these things. Don't just assume whatever I'm saying is right, dude. When I did this, x tends to half minus and all, I have to check, no?
Yeah.
So you have to do h tends to 0, 2 into half plus h, no? Minus 1. And sine of 2 pi into half plus h, right?
Yeah.
So this becomes 1 plus 2h, 1 plus 2h minus 1. So 2h power alpha and sine of pi plus 2 pi h, right?
Right.
So that is minus sine 2 pi h, right? Okay, now it is, okay. Now this part is still becoming 0, this part is also becoming 0. So it is still 0, it will be continuous still, right? No matter what is the alpha, it doesn't matter actually, both are tending to 0.
Right. Yeah.
Similar thing should happen when you do half minus h also. So continuity is still true. Now I have to do differentiability. So I'm doing limit h tends to 0, f of half plus h by h, right? So that becomes, when you do f of half plus h, it becomes 2 into half plus h. So 1 plus 2h minus 1. So mod of 2h power alpha into sine of half plus h, that becomes minus sine 2 pi h. 2 pi into half plus h, that is correct, no? Huh? Minus sine 2 pi h by h, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you will get something because you can multiply this by 2 pi and this by 2 pi, right? This limit tends to 1, right? And this part tends to 0, however, right?
Yeah.
So it is tending to 0 again. And half minus h will also become 0 because of this part, right? Same thing will happen. There will be no difference. If it was non-zero here, it would have been fine. It would have been non-differentiable, right? So it seems like it will become differentiable. So now then it seems as if all the conditions are satisfied, right?
Yeah.
And what happens if alpha is 0? That is the only thing I want to check. If alpha is 0, this part becomes 1 automatically. So function is becoming what? Sine 2 pi x and 0 is less than x is less than 1. So sine 2 pi x, it will be differentiable everywhere. No? What is the problem with that? There's no problem only, right?
No.
Sine 2 pi x is differentiable everywhere in this interval. So actually the answer is anything. It's fine, right?
Yes.
You understand? Everything we have checked, it is coming differentiable and continuous everywhere, right?
Right. Right.
And f of a is equal to f of b is happening one for sine 2 pi x. F of 0 and f of 1, that's same, yeah. Yeah, it is satisfying all conditions. Is everyone understanding what I'm doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
You have to think about where it could go wrong. Like you have to think about half point first. You have to think about 0 and 1, how to check differentiability and continuity at those points, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Question 3 is, let f be a biquadratic given by f of x is equal to a x power 4 plus b x cube plus cx square plus dx plus e. C. Where a, b, c, d, e belong to real numbers, a, b, c, d, e belong to reals, and a is not equal to 0. A is not equal to 0. He's saying if limit of x tends to 0, f of minus x by 2x cube to the power 1 by x is equal to e power minus 3, right? Then you have to find these things. What is the value of a plus 4b? Second is what is f of 1? And third is f dash 1. Okay. Try it. This is a typical limits question. You guys are doing it, no?
Yes, sir.
First thing you should do is write f of minus x.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
You have to find this limit as x tends to 0. What conclusions can you draw from here? This is raised to the power infinity, right?
Yeah.
So this function, have you got any results from so far? Anybody? Anything?
They have given it's e power minus 3, right? So
Hmm.
when you like take log and then you get it
Okay.
I didn't do by
as
taking
0.7.
log.
What?
I didn't do it by taking log.
Okay, what did you do?
This one thing was given in our book on how to solve exponential functions.
Mhm.
So it was written that you can do the limit will stay as it is, but the power can come in front and the base minus one, and then you can calculate the limit.
Wait, we have already discussed how to calculate such limits. It's not like there's some new thing, but
Yeah, I mean,
it is, if it is of this form, we know how to find the limit if this tends to infinity and this tends to 0.
yeah, I meant that itself. Yeah,
But that is not on this form right now. No, what is this? This is totally weird, right?
right.
You cannot just apply the form just because it looks like it. It has to fit the form. No.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
is this looking like 1 plus something tending to 0 to the power infinity? Anyone else? Anything?
Yeah, I think we can take log.
If you take log, what will happen? The question doesn't become easier because you take log. This portion is tending to what right now? If x tends to 0, it is in what form? It is 0. No,
E
it
by,
is e by 0, right?
yeah, E by 0.
That is weird. No, that is infinite.
Yeah,
Yeah, infinite.
So you cannot get infinite power infinite. That will blow up, right?
Right, yeah.
If it is answer is given, it's finite, then what is the conclusion from there? How did answer come finite if you are getting something infinite by infinite? The conclusion is that E must be 0. Right? Like if you rewrite this like this, let's divide by 2x cube everywhere. It is a by 2 into x minus b by 2 plus c by 2x minus d by 2x squared plus e by 2x cube, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
To the power 1 by x. So this portion is becoming 0. This portion is staying as it is.
Hmm.
This portion is becoming infinite.
Yeah. on the
All
scale.
of these terms are blowing up, becoming infinite. If they become infinite, then there is no chance that infinite power infinite is going to tend to something finite.
Yeah.
So that implies that C is equal to D is equal to E is equal to 0. Because they have to disappear, otherwise it will be totally wrong.
Right.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It is not in the form of something tending to 1 power infinity. You cannot directly apply that.
Yeah, got my mistake.
You have to think about how can something infinite power infinite become finite. Only if this infinite part goes away. Otherwise, there's no chance. If you assume that now, then your equation has become a by 2x minus b by 2 to the power 1 by x, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we know that this is tending to 0. So
Zero.
this 0 part is sorted. This should tend to plus 1, right? Then
Yeah.
if my limit has to be finite,
Hmm.
if my limit has to be finite, it cannot be greater than 1 also.
Correct.
If it is slightly great, it is 2 power infinity is infinite. Okay.
Hmm.
Only near 1 you can sort of say that if this tends to infinity, not exactly infinity, and this is tending to 1, then it will be something finite.
Right.
Right.
Only this is the correct forms. Otherwise, if it is above 1, there is no chance for it to be finite.
Right, yeah.
It is if it is substantially above 1, if it is not tending to 1, this whole thing, then there is no chance for it to be finite, right?
Right.
So that gives us that this part should be 1, right? Then only it will be 1 plus 0 to power infinity, right?
Right, yeah.
So b comes as minus 2. B comes as minus 2. We have gotten that. So the function itself is now becoming something like this. Okay, we'll put the value later. What we'll say is we'll find the limit first. So you have 1 plus a by 2x power 1 by x is equal to e power minus 3 as limit x tends to 0. Right? So basically
Right, yeah.
this limit is e power a by 2x into 1 by x. So a by 2, right, is equal to e power minus 3. A is equal to minus 6. So the function becomes minus 6 x power 4 minus 2 x power 3. That's all. Plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. Right?
Right.
So a plus 4b. A plus 4b will be minus 6 plus 4 times this. So minus 8. So this should be minus 14.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
F of 1 should be minus 6 minus 2 minus 8. Right?
-8, yeah.
F dash 1 will be minus 24 x cube minus 6 x squared. So minus 30. No, 1, yeah, minus 30. Right? So how are we solving it? You have to keep in mind what we have learned. That is why we did that in so much detail. How do we get this 1 power infinity tends to, how do we get this is e power limit x tends to 0 fx gx? We did it by doing binomial theorem, seeing everything properly. It only happens in this form, not in any other form. So you have to ensure that you have to make it look like 1 plus fx power gx. And that will only happen if these C, D, E terms disappear, also if this part becomes 1. If it is 2 plus something, it is not going to be finite.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Is everyone understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 Yes, sir.
Okay. So A, B, C, D, E, everything can be found. Function has been found. Question is solved. Okay. Next one is this. Let fx is equal to x cube plus ax square plus bx plus c. A, B, C are real. First option, you have to select multiple correct. These are options. Equation fx is equal to 0 has exactly one real root, then fx must be strictly increasing on R. Tell me about this option first. Do you think it is right or wrong?
Yeah, because it crosses x-axis only once.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not
So
something
no,
very
it can be
fun.
decreasing also.
Yes,
Yeah. It
it
can.
could be like this or it could be like this, right?
Right, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this doesn't imply this, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could have been decreasing also. So this is wrong, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Second option is if fx has a point, if fx has a negative point of local minimum, then both roots of f dash x is equal to 0 must be negative and distinct. This is the question. If fx has a negative point of local minimum, so what do you mean by that statement? Fx has a negative point of local minimum. What is the meaning of that phrase?
It means the local minimum is negative, like
Mhm. So
below x-axis.
this, no, negative point, it is at a negative value of x,
Oh,
right?
oh, okay, like that, yeah.
Mm.
It is not saying fx has a local minimum which is negative, right?
Point.
Right, yeah, yeah.
It is saying fx has a negative point of local minimum. Point of local minimum is negative. So that means somewhere here you'll get a local minimum, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't.
Okay. So it could be a curve like this, local minimum.
But it could cross the.
So if it is like this, then how will you draw fx curve? Fx curve eventually has to go to infinity, right? This is a cubic equation. It has to rise up to infinity eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct. So it curve could be drawn like this, right? It curve starts from minus infinity to infinity, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
See, at x tends to minus infinity, this is minus infinity. At x tends to
Mm.
plus infinity, this is plus infinity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have a situation like this where it starts like this, goes up. Now it has to come down because there's a point of local minima, right?
Yeah.
So it can come down like this and go up. You could also have drawn the curve like this, right?
Mm.
Correct. Which is above x-axis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So but that doesn't change anything. There is still local minima is negative, right? Correct.
Right.
You cannot draw the curve just increasing or just decreasing now. Cubic functions can be like that, by the way, right? Where they're just increasing throughout, right? For example, fx is equal to x cube, right? It is constantly increasing throughout. So cubic functions will either have one real root or three real roots
Yeah.
or three reals. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Why not two reals?
Because conjugate of that the complex number will also be the root.
Yeah, if they have real coefficients, then conjugate complex number, if there's one complex root, the other root will be z conjugate. So that is not possible. So two complex number roots will always come in pairs. So it can either be 2 or 0. So this can be 1 or 3. So in the one case, you will not get this type of a graph, right? Local minima, right? You understand? In the one case, it is either increasing or decreasing function, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is the first option type of graph, right? Then you will never get a local minima or maxima, obviously, because it's increasing or decreasing. So it is only this type of graph that we are talking about, the three real roots type of graph, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So this type of graph will be there. Now from this graph, you know that this is a point of local minima. There must have been a point of local maxima here then, right? Correct.
Yeah.
It is not possible to not have a local maxima before a local minima, because how will you do? Like you have to come down and make a minima, no?
Right, yeah.
Like you have to come down. It is not going to be starting from minus infinity. No, so it was increasing first, right?
Yeah.
So anywhere it is, it has to come before a maxima, has to come before a minima, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So because of that, now what can you say about roots of f dash x? F dash x is equal to 0 equation, right? So notice that this is all obviously a root, no? Minima maxima happens when?
Yeah, f dash x
Yeah.
is 0, yeah.
So this is one root and this is the second root for f dash x is equal to 0 and all.
Yeah.
So can you see that now both the points of where the roots are happening for f dash x is equal to 0 are negative now, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alpha and beta are both negative. So if fx has a negative point of local minima, then both roots of f dash x must be negative and distinct. Right?
Yeah.
One root happens here, one root happens here. It has to happen.
Right.
So this statement is correct. You should understand why it is correct. Correct?
Yeah.
Next statement is saying if f of x1 multiplied by f of x2 is less than 0 and x1 is less than x2, then equation fx is equal to 0 has one root in x1, x2. Has a root in this, right? Is this correct or wrong? It is obvious. Everyone should be able to say this.
Yeah, it is right.
That's true.
Why is it true?
Because if it's negative, then it has to cross the
Axis at least one.
yeah. So
If it is
one
negative, either could be plus or minus. That has to be
Yeah.
a situation. So if one side is plus and other side is negative, then obviously it will cross because the function is continuous. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a polynomial, it has to be continuous, so it will take all the values in between. This is called intermediate value theorem, basically.
Right. Yes, sir.
We have discussed this in the theory part last
Yeah.
week. So if it crosses, then you will have a root in the middle. So this is obviously correct. This is correct. And last option is fx has exactly 1 point of inflection. Exactly 1 point of inflection. The point of inflection was what?
Where the graph turns, right?
Where?
The graph turns like where a local minima or maxima is
Local minima,
achieved.
maxima is not a point of inflection. We had discussed two types of points last week, critical points and inflection points. What is the meaning of critical point and inflection point?
Curvature of the graph changes.
Curvature of the graph changes, that point you're saying. What is curve? What do you mean by saying curvature of a graph?
Like it changes sign.
But what do you mean by curvature? What will you say for curvature? What is curvature of a graph?
Say like tangents.
Tangents? You guys have forgotten every theory that they discussed last week, dude. What is this? We discussed in great detail what is critical point, what is inflection point. How have you forgotten this? Nobody knows what curvature of the graph. You guys are using terms, but you don't know what it really means.
Sir, when it changes concavity.
What?
When it changes concavity.
Concavity? How will you decide concavity?
Sir, is it when the f dash x does not change the sign as expected? F dash x is equal to 0, the value of x. When we put it into f dash x, it does not change the sign. So that point.
Okay, not sure whether you understand it or not. Explain properly. Like, what is f dash x is equal to 0 is what point? Explain properly. Make sure that I am convinced that you understand.
Just a second, let me frame it once so that I can put it at once.
How do you decide concave up or concave down? I told you last week.
If f, if
Concavity is what is curvature he is referring to. So what is concavity? How do you decide it? You cannot just say the word, no? You have to use some mathematical thing to decide, right?
depends on the double derivative.
Double derivative is greater than 0, then it is,
Concave up.
and less than 0, then it is concave down. Now, if you are saying curvature changes, so what do you mean? Curvature changes, you're saying? Or you understand what I'm saying? Asking, do you know what inflection point is? Inflection point is the point where I will tell double derivative is 0. Double derivative 0 and concavity is changing. Here double derivative was negative, here double derivative was positive. These are points which are critical points, no? These are the points where
Yeah.
maxima minima can happen. In maxima
Yeah.
minima, concavity never changes.
Hmm.
This is concave up throughout, then you get a minima. This is concave down, so you get a maxima. Inflection point is the typical inflection point will be y is equal to x cube graph. If you
Yeah.
notice, it is concave down here, concave up here. There is no maxima minima here. And if you notice first derivative is changing sign. I mean, first derivative is not changing sign. If it first derivative changes sign, then what happens? then it is a maxima minima situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First derivative does not change sign, it remains increasing throughout. This side also, this side also. But double derivative is changing sign. Double derivative is changing its behavior here. X cube graph, it will be 3x on one side, and see, because x is one side will be positive, one side will be negative. So this side is negative, this side is positive. 3x squared, it will be 6x actually.
Exactly.
So what is the difference between critical point and inflection point? Critical points are points where maxima minima can happen. Inflection points are points where curvature changes, so maxima minima will not happen if curvature changes.
Yeah.
You cannot forget what we did, dude. There is no excuse for forgetting in 1 week. Whatever is happening in Alan, I don't care. You have to remember what we are doing. Otherwise, what is the point? I mean, now is the point, time to practice and remember things and learn new things. I told you to look at your AOD booklet and nobody has looked at it. You guys are forgetting these basic things. Anyway, question was fx possesses exactly one inflection point. So how will you decide this? Inflection point will happen when double derivative is 0. So if you do double derivative, it will become a linear equation. Cubic, if you take a double derivative, it will become linear, right?
Yeah.
You will get double derivative is coming out to be 2 into 3x plus a. So that will be 0 only at one particular point. X is equal to minus a by 3. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before this minus a by 3, your double derivative will be negative, and after that it will be positive.
Positive. Yeah.
So therefore your curvature will change. It will be like this and then it will be like this. So that type of a point is an inflection point. Everyone is clear?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. If f is differentiable on a to b, and if f of a is equal to f of b is equal to 0, then for some x in, or for some x belonging to AB, first option is x f of x plus f dash x is equal to 0. Second option is x f of x minus f dash x is equal to 0. Third option, 50 f of x plus f dash x is equal to 0. And D, fourth option is f dash x plus ln 50 f of x is equal to 0. Now, this question is again a theoretical question. Obviously, you have to apply what? Which theorem?
Apply Rolle's theorem.
Which one? Which one?
Rolle's theorem.
Rolle's theorem is the question. So you have to apply Rolle's theorem and figure out, is there x inside a to b interval such that these results can happen individually. Each of them you should check whether this can happen or not. So why is Rolle's theorem condition satisfied? First of all this, and then it is saying differentiable on the closed interval. So that means it will be continuous also on the closed interval, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the point of Rolle's theorem is you can say that you can take a function, you can tell there is a c such that f dash c is 0, right?
Yeah.
C belongs to AB. That is what the conclusion of Rolle's theorem is saying, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But the problem is that the things that are given in the option look a little different from your
Yeah.
normal thing. It is a combination of some terms. So what you have to do in all such questions is choose the appropriate function g. Choose g such that Rolle's theorem works. Rolle's theorem works. And obviously g should be some combination of f, right? Because for f you know these things, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then when you differentiate g, you should try to get the option which will come in terms of f, right? You understand?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
differentiate g, it should come and look like one of these options. That is the whole trick here. G will be some combination of the function f of x only. It will be something else with f of x or some combination, so that g still satisfies these conditions. And g you can apply Rolle's theorem. And once you say Rolle's theorem on g, you will say g dash c should be 0. So you will get x f of x plus f dash x is equal to 0. So that is the whole point. Okay. So what g will you choose? That is the whole question. Do you understand what I'm saying? What you are supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I choose g of x as x f of x, right? Correct? You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then obviously g of a and g of b is 0, right? And
Yeah.
g will also be fully differentiable. So
Yeah.
g satisfies the condition of the problem. So now we can apply Rolle's theorem here. So there will be an x in AB such that g dash x, which will be f of x plus x into f dash x, right?
Yeah.
Will be 0, right?
Yeah.
That is not exactly what we needed. Like, it is close, but it is not exactly what we needed. So
Yeah.
this is not the appropriate choice for getting these options. But you similarly, you have to think of what function will give me this type of a thing, right? On differentiation.
Yeah.
That is what you have to think of. Is there some function which will give me this type of a thing, so that you can apply it? So let's take another candidate function. You can also take e power x f of x. That will also ensure that g satisfies Rolle's theorem, right?
Right, right, yeah.
If you take e power x f of x, that will also ensure the Rolle's theorem conditions. So let's take gx is equal to e power x f of x. In that case, g dash x will become e power x f of x plus e power x f dash x, right?
Yeah.
You'll get something e power x common, fx plus f dash x is equal to 0. So this part will have come.
Yeah.
It is similar, but there is an x missing,
Yeah, right.
right? So it's still not correct. So I will just tell you the first one. The first one is, the choice is e power x square by 2 f of x. If you take this, notice that this is positive and f of a and f of b are 0. So g of a and g of b is also 0.
0, yeah.
0.
So there is no problem with the Rolle's theorem conditions. Now you can do g dash x here. G dash x will be e power x square by 2 multiplied by 2x by 2 multiplied by f of x plus e power x square by 2 f dash x, right? So this is e power x square by 2 common. It is x f of x plus f dash x, right? So g dash x must be 0. So this part must be 0, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is the first option. So if you choose e power x square by 2 f of x instead of e power x f of x, then differentiation of x square by 2 will give me an x in the this one.
Yeah.
So that is the choice for the first one. So suppose first one now you figured out. What will be the second one from there? Second one, can you confirm? Second and third are similar, exactly similar. So think of what functions you will choose for second and third.
You take like e to the power minus x square.
No, minus won't work, right?
E power minus x square by 2 f of x will work. Just
Yeah.
check it out.
Won't work.
It will be e power minus x square by 2 into minus x, right? F of x
Right.
plus e power minus x square by 2 into f dash x, right?
Yeah,
E
yeah.
power minus x square by 2, if you take common, you'll get f dash x minus x f
Oh,
of x is 0,
Yeah.
which is
yeah,
the same
right.
thing as this actually, right?
Right, yeah.
This time e power minus x square by 2 f of x is the right function to check with. Correct?
Hmm.
Yeah.
For third one, what will you choose then?
Minus 50 f.
50 f of x plus f dash x. Second option is also correct. First option is also correct. Third one. So again, choose a similar type of function, but this time you have to ensure 50 comes out as a differentiation, right?
Yeah.
So e power what? 50x.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
What will happen when you differentiate? You'll get e power 50x into 50 f of x
Yeah.
plus e power 50x into f dash x.
That's-
So you take this common and this is coming.
Yeah.
This is third one also. This is the function for the third one.
Hmm.
And in this one, similarly, ln 50 has come, right?
Yeah.
So okay, e power ln 50x, right?
Hmm.
Correct. So that is basically multiplied by f of x. So it is basically 50 power x f of x, right?
Yeah, 50 power x.
Correct. Yeah.
Because e power ln 50 power x is 50 power x.
Hmm. Yeah.
When you do this function, again it will come.
Hmm.
So the idea here, I mean, first time it might be hard to think of this, but once you have seen something like this, then you have to remember this question, like remember this question till the time you write JEE, because this is a very standard and tricky question. Especially someone who has not seen it will not be able to say this, right?
Yeah.
So you need to know that in such questions, if you want to apply Rolle's theorem or Lagrange theorem, you have to guess the function. You have to guess a function, and it should be coming in terms of your f only. Common guesses are x f of x, or f of x plus something, or e power x f of x. These types of guesses are common. Anything that doesn't tamper with the differentiability of f, right?
Yeah.
Anytime where you are constructing a G which doesn't change the differentiability and all, it is itself differentiable, right? That is fine.
Yeah.
So right
Yeah.
now we saw this type of function being used and this type of function being used. You will see many cases like this, and every time it becomes a little tricky, but once you know it, you can expect to get this type of thing, right? So okay, everyone has understood, no, what happened here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is for which of the following functions?
Sir,
Uh,
could you just tell the functions in the previous one for the options, because I understood the question, but I'll just note down the functions we have to use.
first one was e power x square by 2 f of x. Second one was e power minus x square by 2 f of x. Third one was e power 50x f of x. Fourth one was same pattern, e power ln 50 into x f of x, which became basically 50 power x f of x.
Right. Right. Okay.
You are just ensuring that the derivative matches.
Mhm.
For which of the following functions Rolle's theorem is applicable? Rolle's theorem is applicable. Options are fx is equal to x by 2 plus 2 by x. X belongs to 1 to 4. Fx is equal to x plus 1 minus x power 3 by 2. X belongs to 0 to 1. Fx is equal to mod of x plus 1 power 3. X belongs to minus 2 to 0. And fourth one is fx is equal to signum function of x plus signum function of minus x, where x belongs to minus 5 by 2 to 1 by 2. Okay. So which of the following functions will Rolle's theorem be applicable? So you have to basically simply check the conditions of Rolle's theorem for all of these functions on these intervals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It should be continuous and differentiable on the interval and in its interior, and it should be equal values at the endpoints. Like you should get the intuition of when it is differentiable and all easily for certain questions. So just check endpoints here. When you do 1, it is 1 by 2 plus 2, and when you do 4, it is 2 plus 1 by 2, right? It's the same value, right?
Yeah.
So f of a is equal to f of b here, and obviously since this doesn't cover 0 part, it is beyond 0, so this is an obviously differentiable function in that region, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So this is satisfying. It is differentiable, then it is continuous also. In this one, if you check 0 to 1, 0 value will be 1, 1 value will be 2 plus 1, 2 minus 1, so that is also 1.
Yeah.
F
Yeah,
of a is
yeah.
equal to f of b, and there is no problem of differentiation here. There
Yeah.
is no problematic point, right? It is all positive. If it was negative and all, then it will not be defined, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
positive.
this is
Yeah.
also fine. Let's think of this now. This one,
Is equal to f of 0.
minus 2, when you put those values and 0 values are same.
Minus 1 we have to check now.
Now, oh, minus 1 value. Oh, minus 1 you're checking for the sign and all.
Yeah.
Continuity, differentiability you have to check in this interval. So best would be to just draw the graph sort of like just specify the function properly. Like between minus 2 to minus 1, the function will be negative, right?
Correct.
So it will be negative minus x plus 1 whole cube, right? Because mod x plus 1 will be negative, right? In that region.
Right, yeah.
Minus 2 is less than equal to x is less than minus 1. And the other case, it will be x plus 1 whole cube from minus 1 to 0, right? So you have to just check the derivative near minus 1, right?
Yeah.
So near minus 1, this side derivative is coming minus 3x plus 1 whole square, but it is becoming 0. And this side also it is coming 0, right?
Yeah.
Both sides derivative are matching. So it will be differentiable there. Continuous, it is obviously continuous at those points because it becomes 0, 0.
Correct.
So it feels like this is also applicable then, right?
Yeah.
Now you have to think about signum function of x plus signum function of minus x. Signum function definition everyone remembers.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What is it?
Minus 1 for x.
Minus 1, 0, 1 for negative, 0, and positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
F
So-
of those two are equal.
So if you take any x here, f of minus 5/2 will be -1 and 5/2 will be +1. So that will be 0, right?
0, yeah.
Every point actually is 0, no? If you think about
Yeah, every point is 0.
it. X will have some sign. If it has one sign, it will be +1 or -1, and this one will be opposite, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yeah.
zero
It's a
will be-
constant function, so it will be applicable, Rowe's theorem here also,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay. Fine. The next one is this one, that fx we defined as integral from 0 to x. Okay, this one maybe right now we don't want to do because okay, I'll just explain a little bit. E power minus t square, t minus 5, t square minus 7t plus 12 dt, right? This is f of x for all
Yeah,
x, for all x belongs to 0 to infinity. You have to find whether it has, there are many options where we have to find what is the local minima, maxima, when is it increasing, decreasing, all of this stuff. When is function increasing, decreasing, when is its maxima, minima happening? Okay, these type of things are the question. But what is the main thing here is to be able to understand how to get f dash x here, right?
Right.
You can decide all of these questions by being able to
Yeah,
find f
yeah,
dash
very
x,
good.
right? So f dash x, if you have to find, now think about how I will do it. Notice first of all that this is a function of x. It's not a definite value. It's not a definite value, right? It's not a constant. Not constant it is, right?
Yeah.
Because there is an x here, right?
Hmm.
If it was 0 to 1, it would be a constant value, right?
Right.
Correct? If the integral was from 0 to 1, that would be basically the area under the curve from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Area would be a constant answer, right? Then f of x would have been a constant, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that would have been a trivial question because it becomes a constant function then. But right now what you have is a variable on top x, so it will give some x answer, right? Some function of x will come out, right? So here what I want to tell you is this rule. So if fx is equal to, here say h of x and here say g of x, right? And some p of t dt or whatever, right? Some variable and some integral you have to do, right? Correct?
Yeah.
This setup is basically some function is the integral of pt with respect to dt, but from limits g of x to h of x. These are functions of x, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's say we know the indefinite integral of pt dt, and that came out to be qt, let's say plus constant, right? We know how to integrate pt dt, let's say, right? The answer is qt plus c, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically I'm saying, let's say pt was a simple t square, let's say, right? You would have gotten answer t cube by 3, right, plus c.
Right.
But when you put limits, you'll have to put h of x and g of x for t, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you would have done what? Instead of t, you would have put h of x. So h of x whole cube by 3 plus c minus g of x whole cube by 3 minus c, right? C cancels. Correct. So
Yeah.
you've gotten something like h of x whole cube by 3 minus g of x whole cube by 3 in case it was question like this, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is assume that p of t's integral gives the function q of t, right? Indefinite integral. So the answer will come when you put in q of t, you put h of x and g of x for t, right? Correct.
Yeah.
This is how you calculate an integral
Yeah.
from 0 to 1 something. Na?
Hmm.
Once you integrate, you have to put the values, right?
Alright.
Right, yeah.
So it would have become q of h of x minus q of g of x, right? Correct,
Right,
no?
right.
Right.
Okay, I'll need some space here. So f of t is coming out to be some q of h of x minus q of g of x, right?
Alright.
Okay. Okay. Where f of t was this function, and what is q? Integral of p of t dt was equal to q of t plus some constant, right? Correct? That is how my q function was defined. It was the integral of p of t, right? So what I have gotten right now is f of x is coming out to be q of h of x minus q of g of x, right?
Right.
If I do f dash x here, what should I write? Chain rule q dash f h of x into h dash x minus q dash g of x into g dash x, right?
Yeah,
Everyone knows how to differentiate chain rule, no? Composition of functions.
Yeah, yeah.
Outside part and then inside part, right?
right, yeah.
Correct? Now notice one thing. This is obvious. This part is clear, no? How f of x has come as this and f dash x has come as this.
Yeah.
Now integral of p of t of what was q of t. So what is the q dash t? Q dash t should be p of t by definition, right?
Hmm.
Because this integral and differential are opposite operators, right? So if you integrate p, that is q. So differentiate q, it should be p.
Correct.
So what is q dash f of x? Q dash h of x is actually just p of h of x, right?
Oh, right.
Right? Correct, no?
Right.
And q dash g of x is just p of g of x, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, now what I can do is I can say this. If you have an integral where h of x is here, g of x is here, and some p of t dt was being done, right? If I have to differentiate this f of x, right? F dash x will be p of h of x, h dash x, minus p of g of x, g dash x.
Right.
How did we get this? We said that let's assume integral of pt dt was qt, right? That means q dash t was equal to pt, right? And since now you have limits here, your f of x is actually q of h of x minus q of g of x, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So f dash x by chain rule should be q dash h of x, h dash x minus q dash g of x, g dash x, right? And
Yeah.
q dash h of x can be written as p of h of x, right? And q dash g of x can be written as p of g of x, right? Correct?
Correct.
Which is the formula I have written on top here. So
Yeah.
basically, if you have an integral function of x that is coming like this, you have some function of x as a limit and some function of x as a limit on top, right? So the way to integrate it is just instead of t, put h of x and then differentiate h of x, minus instead of t, put g of x and differentiate g of x, right? So you have to
Yeah.
remember this as a rule that you are taking a derivative of an integral. Integral is coming out as a function of x, right? And you are taking as a derivative, taking a derivative of that. Is everyone clear on why this is correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We have done an example also. We saw about how to do integral of t square, like integral of t square dt 0 to x, let's say, right? So you would know that the answer is x cubed by 3 here, no? T cubed by 3 puts x and 0, right?
Right, yeah.
That is your function, right? So now f dash x directly, you know, it is answer is x square, right? For f dash x, right?
Yeah.
And notice it will come if you do the formula here, formula that we have done. So instead of t, put x. So x squared, differentiate x, 1 minus, instead of t, put 0. That is 0, differentiate 0, it's 0, right? The same formula comes, no? Same answer comes.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you understanding how it is coming?
Yeah.
This whole part is super important. Many times questions have been asked in JEE Advanced where you have to differentiate it. An integral is given, you have to differentiate that. So make sure that you understand these steps, how we got it.
Right.
So q dash t would have been p of t and f of x would have been this. In q you put the limits, right? H and g.
Yeah.
And when you differentiate, you just differentiate by chain rule and you get this. And you know that q dash t is p of t. So you replace it with p of h of x, h of h dash x minus p of g of x, g dash x. Right?
Yeah.
So in this particular question, we have f of x given in that form only. F of x is given as 0 to x e power minus t square, t minus 5, t square minus 7t plus 12 dt. And you have to say something about maximum minimum of f of x or the increasing decreasing properties of f of x. So obviously you should differentiate that. And differentiation, how do we do? We take whatever function is there, we put the upper limit in it if it's a variable type of thing. So put the upper limit in it. So instead of t, I put x. So it is becoming this x square minus 7x plus 12. And then you have to differentiate that upper limit. So 1, right? And then subtraction will be, if you put 0 and differentiate 0, obviously that will be 0, right? You have to put 0 in the place, everything. So that may not be 0 actually. It will become e power minus 0, minus 5 and 12. But the differentiation of 0 is 0, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to differentiate this part also. So if it is a constant, that term will disappear, right? Are you understanding what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so this part is gone. So the f dash x has come very easily. Like f dash x has come as this, and this can be factorized. It is x minus 4, x minus 3. And now obviously you can say things about f dash x. Now it's over. You can say f dash x disappears at the points 3, 4, and 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say it will increase when this part is positive because this is anyway positive, right?
Correct.
So it will increase or decrease depending on which range you are in, right? Correct.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can do wavy curve and figure out when this is positive or negative, basically, right?
Right.
So this integration sign is there, and then there is a function of x coming out, and you have to differentiate it. That rule you should be familiar with. That is very important. It has come in advanced many times. Basically, if there is a g of x, h of x, and there is a p of x or p of t or whatever, any variable, p of t dt, and you have to find, let's say this is your f of x. You have to find f dash x will be simply in p, instead of t, put the limit g of x, differentiate the limit, minus in p, put the limit and differentiate the limit. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
You should know how it comes also, not just the answer here. Okay, that's all for now. We will continue with more problems. We'll do 1 or 2 more classes on problems of this chapter. You should definitely try your Allen book now. You have to try your Allen book for this, otherwise you'll forget everything that we have learned. We will move on to integration in a bit. So make sure that you utilize your next couple of weeks to figure out everything in the differential calculus part.
Right.
There is nothing else left in theory. This is what the theory of differential calculus is. This is what you need to master. So practice as many questions as you can, because 2 weeks from now, I'm definitely starting integrals. So you have 2 weeks to do as much as you can. Tomorrow's class will be optional. It is not compulsory because Rishi and Akhil might have other classes also. So tomorrow's class, nothing new will be discussed. We'll just be doing problems. So it is optional. Whoever has time can attend. So that is up to you guys. You guys decide.
Same time, right?
Same time. It will just be a problem discussion. And Saturday and Friday and Saturday will be regular physics classes. Okay. Okay. I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Thank you, sir.